hit that subscribe button before things get even weirder. Trust me, they will. So, the movie kicks off with this scientist dude and his daughter, Wei. They both have this weird mark on their faces, like some awkward birthmark situation, and it's honestly messing with their looks. Like, come on, Mother Nature, you had one job. Now, this scientist, man's built a full-blown lab in his house. Yeah, nothing says totally safe like mixing chemicals next to your microwave. He's been obsessively experimenting for who knows how long. Meanwhile, Wei is just chilling, drawing a picture of a flower, not just any flower, though it's called a crop flower. Her dad casually drops the fact that this flower has magical healing powers or something. Classic ancient herbal remedy meets modern science energy. And get this, it only grows deep in the jungle, like once in a blue moon. So, of course, our mad scientist here has used it multiple times in his mysterious experiments. After what feels like forever, he finally makes a breakthrough. He creates this serum that can supposedly hide the ugly mouth mark he's been cursed with. But wait, it gets better. The serum can merge tissue from two different things. Yeah, sounds like a solid idea. What's the worst that could happen, right? So, genius over here cuts off a piece of skin, pours some sketchy chemical on it, and slaps it onto his own face like it's a fancy spa treatment. And boom, it starts growing. Like, literally, the tissues start regenerating and the skin spreads and spreads. And yeah, keeps spreading. It begins to cover his mouth completely like a weird biological face mask from hell. The guy is freaking out. I mean, duh. He didn't sign up for this flesh monster cosplay. He just wanted to erase his ugly mark, not become a horror movie prop. But the skin? Oh, it's not done. It's like, I live here now. Panicking, our man grabs a knife and tries to cut the skin off his lips. Ew. But even after slicing it, the tissue reconnects like some creepy, clingy ex. Honestly, the skin had more commitment than half the relationships on Tinder. Now it's crawling up his face, eyes, nose, the whole shebang. He keeps applying it and cutting it and applying it again like some deranged skincare tutorial gone wrong way. Yeah. She's witnessing this disaster live. She's terrified, rightfully so. Then, wait for it, she just stabs him. Yep, shanks her dad. Full-on horror twist. Bro really gave daddy issues a whole new level, R.I.P. But also, what were you thinking? After that, she's broken, traumatized. I mean, she literally just offed her dad. That'll ruin your week. Time passes, and Wei throws herself into her studies like every overachiever dealing with emotional damage. She's actually brilliant, just like her dad, minus the whole flesh experiment gone wrong part. She earns a scholarship to a big university in the US. Woohoo, smart girl vibes. So she packs her stuff and heads to America, leaving her eerie hometown behind. Now she's staying with her aunt, who has a daughter named Angie. And oh boy, Angie is not thrilled about sharing her room. Girl really acted like Wei just brought a demon instead of luggage. Anyway, Wei sets up a little temple in her corner of the room. Super sweet. She places a picture of her dad there, and yeah, it's revealed she basically worships him. Like, literally, she thinks of him as a god. A god who turned himself into a skin zombie. Bold choice, Wei. Bold choice. Later, we see her quietly looking over some old notes and belongings of her dad, and plot twist, she's still working on the same freaky experiment. Because clearly we didn't learn the first time. Yay, generational trauma. Then comes her first day at the university. Big moment. On her way there, she bumps into this homeless man sitting on the sidewalk. His face is, rough. Like melted wax rough. Wei just stands there, staring, like really staring, for a few awkward seconds. The man, despite his situation, kindly helps her with directions to the university, respect. And just like that, Wei heads off. So, Wei walks into her new class, probably expecting to blend in like a normal freshman. But nope, the professor straight up announces her like she's royalty. Turns out, Wei scored a perfect 100% on the entry test. Okay, brainiac, chill, leave some marks for the rest of the class. And apparently, that hadn't happened in years. So yeah, she instantly became that student. After class, Wei starts diving into her science stuff, like any mad genius in training would. She tries to sneak a few things from the lab, but just as she's swiping some items, the professor walks in like, ahem, care to explain? Wei, not even flinching, tells him she needs to do some experiments. The professor gives her that nice try look and says, yeah, you can't just take stuff from here, but if you become my lab assistant, then you can use the equipment. Ah yes, classic workplace barter system. Unpaid labor for access to dangerous materials. Sounds legit. Wei tells him her dad was also a scientist, and she wants to continue his research. She even hands over her dad's research diary. And when the professor starts reading it, boom, his eyes nearly pop out. He's stunned. Like, wait a minute, your dad was that guy? So he Googles him because of course he does and finds out Wei's dad was a brilliant scientist. But sadly, due to lack of funding, the poor man could never complete any of his projects. Seriously, science is hard. But being broke while doing science? Brutal. Meanwhile, back at home, Angie Wei's cousin has two of her friends over. And what do they decide to do? Steal Wei's stuff classy, real sneaky goblin energy right there. They're snooping around when they stumble upon bloody tools, creepy experiment gear, and horror movie-worthy pictures. Naturally, they freak out like scream and run levels of scared. Fast forward to the next day, Angie's still chilling with her friends, probably pretending last night's blood-splattered trauma never happened. Wei sees them hanging out and feels kinda lonely. She really wants to have friends too. So she walks up, smiles awkwardly, and offers to hang out. She even offers to buy them lunch. How sweet is that? But because of the weird mark on Wei's face, they were always low-key judging her. Still, they fake smile and agree to go. Cut to the restaurant, everything seems okay. Until Wei starts eating. Let's just say her eating style was unconventional. Like, somebody call a therapist weird. The girls are horrified. They ditch her at the table and run off without even pretending to be polite. Dang, cold, Wei, unfazed, packs up all the food like a true queen and walks outside. She gives the meal to that same homeless man with the messed up face, the one who helped her before. She sits with him and opens up. There's a mark on my face that makes me feel ugly. The homeless man looks at her and says, "That's not true. You're beautiful the way you are. Ugh." Right in the feels. Protect this man at all costs. That little moment hits Wei deep. She actually feels a bit better. As she heads home, she bumps into her professor again, and this time he gives her a lift. He tells her he's written a research proposal to help her continue her father's work. But he needs her permission, since it's her dad's legacy. Wei, obviously touched, says yes, finally. Someone not running away from her like she's a villain in a sci-fi movie. Starting the next day, Wei and the professor go full science mode, beakers, notes, lab coats, the whole vibe. But despite working day and night, the experiment just doesn't give them the results they're hoping for. Nothing works. Their efforts are going down the drain. The professor? He's over it. Frustrated, probably questioning all his life choices. He decides to call it quits. Big, "I'm tired of this grandpa" energy. On the same sad day, Angie's friend Alice shows up. She wants to apply as a lab assistant too. And guess what? The professor accepts her request. Alice and Angie head home together. And on the way, Alice actually apologizes to Wei for the way they treated her before. Not only that she wants to be friends now. Okay, plot twist. Character development, we see you. So, one day Alice shows up with a poster. And guess what's on it? A picture of that flower, the same rare bloom that Wei's father used in all his wild experiments. As soon as she sees it, Wei's brain starts doing somersaults. She remembers her dad's words, how important that flower was for the experiment they never finished. And boom, light bulb moment. Wei decides she's gonna get that flower. Oh no, here comes the late-night criminal arc. So, later that night, she sneaks off to a nearby farmhouse where the flower is being displayed in some exhibition. And yep, she steals it. Not Wei turning into a botanical burglar. Somewhere, her dad's ghost is probably facepalming. She snatches the flower and rushes straight to the science lab like it's the season finale of a drama series. Super hyped, she jumps right into her experiment. What she doesn't realize is that the professor and Alice are already there, hiding like they're in a high school prank. But she's too pumped to notice. She extracts the flower's essence like a pro and adds it to her experiment. Then things get real weird. She cuts the skin of her own foot like slice. Then she splits that piece into two halves and slathers the serum on. And boom, the two skin pieces fuse back together like magic. Okay, science is cool and all, but why her foot? Who tests their first successful serum on their feet? So now she applies the serum to the spot where she removed the skin, slaps the original skin back on, and watches as it regenerates. It turns white, then reforms beautifully like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. The professor, peeking through the window like some nosy raccoon, is stunned. He sends Alice away and rushes in like, "What are you doing?" Wei explains everything, how the flower serum worked, and now the experiment was finally a success. She's all excited, showing the new skin on her foot like it's a proud science fair project. But Alice? Oh no. She's off to the side, seething with jealousy and muttering villain thoughts to herself. Alice, girl, chill. You're not the main character, let it go. Instead of minding her business, Alice takes pictures of Wei mid-experiment, and not the flattering kind. No, she's snapping those cotton 4K doing mad science kind of pics. Then, like Stormcloud in heels, she barges in and drags Wei out of the lab, scolding her like a mom who found broken dishes. Wei, clearly startled by the sudden rage storm, accidentally leaves her notebook behind. The professor, meanwhile, is over the moon, not about the drama, but because he now has access to the notes. He even starts translating Wei's dad's old diary into English. But while all that's happening, Alice has already texted those creepy photos to Wei's cousin Angie, and hoo boy Angie is not thrilled. The moment she sees the pictures, she goes full psycho mode. She trashes the room like it owed her money. Wei comes home, sees the mess, and instantly gets heartbroken. But before she can even react, bam, Angie attacks her from behind. Dang, Angie. From cousin to kung fu villain real quick, Wei tries to defend herself, but Angie is going full Mortal Kombat on her. In a panic, Wei grabs the nearest thing a pen and jabs it, straight into Angie's neck. Oof. Note to self. Pens not just for writing essays, apparently. Angie collapses, and yep, she's gone. Now, Wei never meant to kill her, but... Well, here we are, panicked. Wei drags Angie's body into the bathroom. Every horror movie ever. Put the body in the bathroom. And then Wei's brain just snaps. She starts thinking the strangest things. She cuts off the skin from Angie's mouth, injects her own serum on it, and then... She wears it. Yes, really. She applies the skin to her own face. And the craziest part? It works. Her tissue fuses with Angie's skin like it was meant to be, girl. This ain't skincare. This is straight-up nightmare fuel. Now that Wei was wearing Angie's skin, she looked exactly like her, like identical, creepy level identical. At this point, Angie's mom had been away somewhere. But the moment she came back home, she hugged Wei tightly, thinking she was her daughter. And she just showered her with love, lady. Maybe check for, I don't know, actual vibes? Who hugs their kid without realizing it's a full-on clone? Wei? Oh, she was living for it, she thought. Welp, this works. And rolled with it. Now she stopped being Wei completely. The next morning, she put on Angie's clothes, did her makeup like Angie, and fully stepped into Angie's life like it was a Netflix teen drama. When she went back to the university, the first person she ran into was Angie's boyfriend. And oh boy, this was the first time ever a guy got that close to Wei. She was all hard eyes and butterflies. Sis went from tragic scientist's daughter to full-on soft girl aesthetic in 0.5 seconds. She started loving this new life. Angie's face, Angie's reputation, Angie's wardrobe, her friends, and even her boyfriend. Wei realized her life as Wei had been duller than a soggy potato chip. Angie had everything a cute boyfriend, loyal friends, and a doting mom. So naturally, she goes on a date with Angie's boyfriend. They're vibing, getting all close and cozy. It's a total rom-com moment. Until plot twist, Angie's face starts peeling off Wei like wet wallpaper. Yep, nothing says romance like your girlfriend's face melting mid-kiss. Yikes. The guy freaks out. And honestly, same. He's so terrified that he runs away but forgets he's on a hill. Slips, falls, dies, just like that. Bro literally said, I'd rather die than deal with this skincare horror show. R.I.P. to the most dramatic exit ever. Wei, now completely shaken, rushes home. She starts tearing the place apart, searching for her dad's notebook. That notebook might have the secret to permanently bonding the skin, but nope, it's gone. Turns out the professor had it the whole time. She's only got a little serum left, but it'll have to do. She injects it into her face again, and voila, Angie's face is back. On the other side of this chaos, the professor is out there hunting for the flower again. The same flower that could complete the experiment. While he's out flower hunting like some twisted botanist, he gets a call from the translator. The translator's like, hey man, I just finished going through this diary. This experiment? Super dangerous, like Frankenstein-level bad. He practically begs the professor to stop. But does the professor listen? Of course not, because he's a mad scientist with the ego of a reality show contestant. Meanwhile, Wei heads to the university to get her dad's book back. She searches the lab, but surprise, it's not there. The professor had given it to the translator. So she calls him up, he's like, yeah, I have the book, but you're not getting it back. And then he drops the mic. I'm gonna publish your father's experiment under my name. Excuse me? Sir, you're about 2 steps away from full-blown Disney villain. Wei is furious. But she can't do anything. So she just walks away. As soon as she leaves campus, she spots Eve. And guess what? She finds out that Eve's been having an affair with the professor too. Of course he's cheating. He's shady, greedy, and dresses like a retired magician. So Wei, now boiling with rage, decides to take revenge. Still pretending to be Angie, she invites Eve over to the house. Eve, totally unsuspecting, comes through like it's a casual girls' hangout. And then boom, Wei attacks her in a fit of rage. Eve, panicked, runs for her life and hides in the garden like it's hide-and-seek turned horror show. But Wei finds her, and with a drill machine no less, she ends it just like that, girl, not the Home Depot homicide. This ain't DIY, it's DOA. After killing Eve, yikes, that escalated quickly. Wei peeled off Eve's skin. Yep. like she was prepping for a Leatherface Halloween party and placed it right over her own mouth. Now she looked exactly like Eve. Creepy? Oh, absolutely. Effective? Sadly, also yes. She even styled her hair like Eve's and copied her wardrobe down to the last stitch. Looking through Eve's phone, she mirrored her texting style, mannerisms, and attitude. Girl was out here doing full-blown identity theft like it was a TikTok trend. All this to make sure no one would recognize her. But plot twist, the neighbor's dog? Yeah, he saw it all and started barking like crazy because dogs always know when something is wildly not right. So the neighbors, a little freaked out, called the cops. But when the police showed up and saw Eve just casually wrapped in a towel like she was mid-bubble bath, they shrugged and walked away. Wow, shout out to the world's most unbothered cops. A screaming dog and suspicious vibes? Nah, probably just shampoo drama. The next morning, Wei now in Eve's face struts into the university. And oof, it felt good. Eve was a very popular student, so people were all happy to see her. Wei went from weird lab rat girl to campus queen overnight. Disney Channel who? After soaking in the admiration, she heads straight to the professor's house. She knew her dad's notebook had to be there somewhere. And the professor? He had no idea he was opening the door to a skin-wearing maniac. Thinking it was just Eve, he let her right in. Wei searched the entire house, flipping rooms like it was an episode of Hoarders, but no luck, no notebook. So she left. Now, realizing she couldn't just keep hiding bodies forever, she decided to stash both Angie and Eve's corpses. Where? In the pool? Because who needs chlorine when you've got full-on murder secrets soaking in your backyard spa? Then she grabbed their phones and started scrolling like a bored teen on a Sunday afternoon. That's when she found a picture of herself and the professor. Turns out Alice had taken it to try to ruin her reputation. Honestly, Alice had a whole side quest going on this whole time. Girl was doing paparazzi work in between science labs. Wei wasn't about to let that photo go to waste. She flipped the script and used the image against the professor. She emailed it straight to the authorities, claiming the professor was manipulating girls for his personal gain. Boom. The authorities swooped in and arrested the professor immediately. Finally, some justice. Although it took 2 murders and a DIY identity theft. But still, we got there. But unfortunately, the professor had connections. His authority was pretty high, so by the next day, he was out on bail and back home. Of course, the first thing he did was restart the same experiment, the one that was actually Wei's dad's invention. He followed all the steps again, brewed up the serum, and attempted to join 2 pieces of skin tissue. Surprisingly, it worked. The tissues fused perfectly, which meant the experiment was successful. But instead of being thrilled, the professor looked annoyed. Bro really said, "Yay, success. But also, I'm mad because it wasn't entirely mine. Ego check, please." Just then, Eve walked in. Or rather, Wei in Eve's skin. The professor lit up, thinking everything was coming together. He made Eve sit in the living room while he stepped away to grab food. Probably something pretentious like hummus and wine. But Wei wasn't there to chill. She needed her dad's notebook. While the professor was distracted, she slipped into his study and began searching like she was on a spy mission. She found the notebook, and even better, she found the fresh serum the professor had just made. Snagging both, she made a run for it. The professor, suspicious of her sudden exit, checked his study. No notebook, no serum, just betrayal. Guess karma really hits when your guest is secretly a skin thief ninja with daddy issues. That night, Wei was finally at home, back in her real face. Suddenly, Alice arrived. She was clearly shaken and told Wei, not knowing it was Wei, that both of her friends, Angie and Eve, had mysteriously vanished. She was heartbroken, and for a brief moment the mask slipped. Wei hugged her and offered comfort. The irony? Chef's kiss? Wei comforting the girl whose friends she literally turned into fashion accessories. So now Alice was just minding her own business and needed a glass of water. Totally normal, right? She opened the fridge. La-di-da, just another day and bam. What did she see? Oh my god, inside the fridge were her friends' body parts. Like frozen, like welcome to the icebox of nightmares. Frozen, Alice completely lost it. She screamed like she was in a full-on horror movie. Because, well, she kinda was. But before she could run and tell anyone, Wei still rockin' her Eve costume lunged at her. She smacked a clay trap over Alice's face and suffocated her to death. Alice just wanted water, not to be turned into the next murder chapter. Rough now this time? Wei didn't even bother hiding the body. Girl went from sneaky serial killer to, I don't care, come at me energy real quick. And wouldn't you know it, the doorbell rang. It was the professor. Classic timing. He noticed the door was unlocked and walked right in, like he owned the place. Wei was just sitting there, looking totally off, like she'd just come out of a horror film and into a therapy session. She looked at the professor and started laughing. Like full Joker mode. Even the professor, who'd already seen some crazy stuff, was a little spooked. But then she congratulated him. Yep, she congratulated the professor on the success of the experiment. He actually looked pleased for like 3 seconds until she snapped. Wei, still in Eve's face, shouted, "This wasn't your experiment, it was my dad's." Cue the dramatic, "You didn't build that" energy. Boom. The professor, being the absolute slimeball he was, just ignored her and walked to the fridge to get his precious serum. But as soon as he opened the fridge, whoops, dead bodies. He gasped so hard you'd think he just discovered his entire career was built on crime and cold cuts. He panicked, understandably, but Wei wasn't done. She whipped out a tranquilizer injection like some kind of mad vet, and bam, right into the professor's neck. Lights out, science boy. When he woke up, he was tied up, skinless, and screaming like a banshee. That's what you get for stealing other people's work and being a creep, Professor Peels a lot. Wei calmly started applying the serum onto his exposed body. Then she gently laid a piece of skin over him, and like magic, it started regenerating. But instead of giving him a second chance at life, she shoved a straw in his mouth and watched as the spreading skin choked him out. He couldn't breathe. He gasped, flailed, and within moments, she was gone. Just before his death screams ended, a neighbor heard the noise and, once again, called the police. Shout out to that neighbor for being the real MVP of this entire story. When Wei heard the sirens, she panicked. She bolted out the back, running like she was in the last round of Squid Game. The police saw her and immediately gave chase. She sprinted through the streets, desperate, and finally found a homeless man she'd once been kind to. She begged him for help. And because he remembered how sweet Eve had always been to him, he hid her under his blanket. The cops didn't find her. They moved on. Wei sat down trying to catch her breath. But, oh no, she had one last vial of serum in her pocket. And guess what? It broke. Yeah, right there, right under the blanket. And then, boom, the serum reacted. Wei's body and the homeless man's body started melting together. Like some horrific biology experiment straight out of a nightmare, the tissues fused, their skin merged. They didn't just become friends, they became one giant, horrifying monster. Wei was stuck. No going back. She couldn't fix it. She just sat there. This terrifying creature of science gone wrong. Then, just when things couldn't get weirder, her aunt arrived. She had been out searching for her daughter, Angie. Wei. Now a monster blob of fused tragedy looked at her aunt. But she couldn't say a word. She couldn't tell her the truth. She couldn't explain what happened. And the story faded to black, leaving behind only chaos, skin, and a whole lot of therapy bills.